Hi everybody, I'm absolutely over the moon to welcome you today to our Degree Apprenticeship Week event. Really wonderful to have so many of you with us. So I just wanted to introduce myself, introduce the event, and just tell you a little bit around how things are going to work before I hand over to my colleagues. So my name is Hazel Ranthwaite. I'm Head of Work-Based Learning for the University of Sunderland. So the Higher and Degree Apprenticeship portfolio at the university sits within my team. We're all incredibly excited about apprenticeships and the opportunities that affords to both businesses and individuals. So hopefully this event will give you a flavour of some of the things that we're doing, how you can work with the university, and some excellent case studies about what we've been doing with certain apprentices that we've worked with over the years. Just to let you know, in terms of the chat, there is a chat function on Zoom. You'll have to forgive me. Zoom is not my comfort zone, but on the bottom of the screen you'll see where it says chat, so please feel free to drop in any questions or comments that you might have into the chat box. Obviously there'll be somebody that's monitoring those and picking them up as we go on through. To be perfectly honest, I just want you to really enjoy the event. Take away what you can. If you've got any questions or want to speak to anybody after the event, then please feel free to drop us a note. I know Joe will talk you through the how to do that and various different things throughout, and you'll notice that on our background all of the relevant information is there. I really don't want to take up too much time because I know it's a really jam-packed session for you all. So I just really wanted to welcome you on behalf of the University of Sunderland and let you know what a real pleasure it is to be running this event with you all today. Thank you. Enjoy yourselves.
Thank you, Hazel, and that was really a great little introduction. And good morning, everybody, and welcome. My name is Jo Thurlaway, and I'm the Apprenticeship Relationship Manager at the University of Sunderland. Thank you so very much for joining our event today, which is co-hosted in partnership with Dynamo Northeast. And I'd like to also introduce in the background Claire Nicholson, who is actually managing the technology today, and we're very grateful for that. That's a real help to us all. So my internet is being very problematic today. So in a moment when I put the slides on, I am going to just turn my camera off. I'm not being rude. It's just so that you don't get a lot of background noise or cackling or whatever it might be from my internet. So welcome, and I'm just going to share my screen now and go through a few slides and give you the agenda. So welcome to our event today. I'd like to start the event by just going through the actual event agenda. We have today 6 panel members who I'll introduce very shortly when we get to that point. But we have a start off. I'm going to give an introduction and go through the highlights of the higher and degree apprenticeships at the University of Sunderland. I'm going to just sort of talk about our journey from the start and a little bit about our achievements over the last 12 months. We've also got Helen Tong here today from Dynamo, who's kindly going to actually put up some talk about the Dynamo talent engine, which is really great, and give you a bit of an insight into that. Between 10 and 11, we've got a great hour of discussion from some of our panel members. So as I mentioned, we've got 6 people. There'll be a few questions that we'll be asking, and there'll be opportunities for you to engage in a question and answer session and 2. And then the final part of our day is broken up into sort of different areas. We're delighted to have a free leadership masterclass to give you a little bit of a taster of some of the sort of activities we do at the university. So that will be available. And we also have got one of our breakout rooms is an ESF funded courses breakout room. The University of Sunderland actually won an ESF funded project to help upskill the workforce in the North East LEP. And we have a breakout room if anybody is interested to learn more about how you can access some fully funded training to upskill staff. And it's for those people who are in the North East LEP area. And also in addition, we've got some specific breakout areas to look at our apprenticeships, our leadership, our digital apprenticeships, our engineering, healthcare science, and then a general one for other ones that we cover which I'll explain as part of today. So the event is due to close at 12. Feel free to just come and go as you can. Hopefully you can stay for the full duration. We'd love to have you here. So let's start and have a look at our journey so far. So I'm proud to be part of this life-changing university who really puts employers, students and apprentices at the heart of what we do. Our apprenticeship started in 2014 with development, and that was on what was our Digital and Technology Solutions Professional apprenticeship, which is still running today. But we've been at the forefront of, in order to actually drive forward apprenticeships from the very start. And actually, we were the second university to be able to offer degree apprenticeships, which we are really proud of. Now, just a moment ago, we had a poll that popped up, just some facts about apprenticeships. And I'm going to just ask Claire to bring up the results on that, if she wouldn't mind. Okay, so the question is around about reporting, government's reported figures on apprenticeships for 21-22 for the forecasting of this next academic year. So last year it was 321,000 apprenticeship starts, and obviously this covers all different levels of apprenticeships. But it's just interesting to see what your viewpoint is, whether or not it's actually going to increase or decrease. So the majority of you have come up, 71% have come up with that fact is true. And indeed it is. There's actually been a new published apprenticeship programme statistics academic year, which runs up to 21-22, which was published just in February. And those figures are actually from there. And I think my colleague's going to pop in the chat the link to it if you want to have some further reading. But the good thing is, obviously, apprenticeships are definitely on the increase, and every year on year are increasing, which is fantastic. And we are delighted. As part of our development, we've actually got 15 higher degree apprenticeships that we are now running at the university, with many more that are in development. And we have extended our programme from just having, one or two to having not only a wide range of 15, we've also got a wide range now of levels. So we offer a level 4 apprenticeship, which is in Digital Community Manager 1, designed to support the management and engagement of online digital communities. So great for organisations who've got that online community, which is very much growing all the time now. At level 5, we've got a learning and skills of teacher apprenticeship, and that is designed for those in teaching roles to develop knowledge and skills needed to develop sort of outstanding and effective teaching, training, should I say. We do actually have a programme that starts on the 18th of March, so if that's something that's of interest, there's still time to apply, and a great way to really look at the training within your team and within your business. At level 6, we offer a wide range of apprenticeships from our degree level. We've got engineering, we've got Michael here today who will be able to talk about that. We've got a digital provision, we've got nursing provision, we've got social worker, we've got a healthcare science, teacher, public health, and many more in development. So that is really the core of where a lot of our apprenticeships are, but we also do offer them at level 7 as well, and that ranges from our senior leader apprenticeship, which includes an MBA as part of it, whose aim is to really build strategic leaders for the future. So absolutely a great apprenticeship to be able to offer to really build a business. We've got a course on that one actually starting in May, but we also have health ones such as our advanced clinical practitioner, a digital technology solution specialist, and registered nurse. I'd like to just bring up another poll now just to see what the US and audience are interested in terms of the courses and programs that are available. I'll give you a couple of minutes just to tick what's of interest. Okay, Claire, would you mind just popping the results up on the screen? Great, interesting. So a lot of people interested in digital, which is very interesting, as that's where there's been a lot of change with the pandemic. That's led us more to really review our provision as a country around digital provision, and it's and the way it's moving is very quick and that's really very interesting. And also senior leader, but great as well. Healthcare science, we'll have people on here today and some nurses. So really a great cross section. Excellent, thanks for that. Okay, so in terms as a university, we are aware that we are a very large, a large university. But what we have wanted to do on our journey is to be able to offer a one-stop sort of shop for our customers, for our employers, and also for our apprentices. So we do that through our work-based learning team. You've met Hazel, who is head of work-based learning, and I fit into the actual team as part of the apprenticeships team within work-based learning. And the reason for having this is so that we can have a seamless delivery and a one point of contact to make our communication easier for our employers. And some good news to let you know about is that we are improving this further by the introduction of a MyTask system, a learning management solution that we're introducing over the coming months. And hopefully by the end of the year, we'll have this fully migrated so that we can help employers to access data about their apprentices and hopefully aid our communication further. So all of our apprenticeships have been created in collaboration with employers. They're designed to ensure that the apprenticeships themselves develop the skills and the knowledge and the behaviours that are directly relevant to the job role, and they meet the knowledge and the skills gaps that are out there. And what I'd like to say today in terms of this sort of celebration of National Apprenticeship Week is we wouldn't be where we are today without our employers. Their support has been tremendous. And it's a real opportunity, I'd like to say, is to thank our employers for their tremendous contributions throughout our journey. And we're really very, very grateful for this. In terms of collaborating and working with our employers, we engage throughout the whole process. That's actually from initial sort of idea concept to seeing whether or not an apprenticeship is something that might be of interest to our employers, right the way through the development stages, and then even when it's on programme and beyond, in terms of review. And we have lots of meetings, consultation meetings, strategic meetings. Please get in touch with us if you would like to get involved. We'd love to hear from you, and it would be great to be part of our community. And just one last thing on this slide in terms of our journey is that we're really proud of our recognition. Our innovative approach to delivery is one of our success factors, and our employers have helped make this happen. And we're also really proud of some of the wider recognitions at the university. We were shortlisted as the University of the Year in 2021 at the Times Higher Education Award, and the University of the Year for Social Inclusion in the Times and Sunday Times University Guide 2021. Okay, so the last slide, I promise, and then I'm going to pass on just a quick highlight of this year. What's happened since the National Apprenticeship Week in 2021. So in the last 12 months, we have had 444 higher and degree apprenticeship level apprentices that we've enrolled since February. And it's great to be working with employers to support the development of so many apprentices, should I say, and help them work and grow their teams and businesses. In terms of our actual apprenticeships as well, we had 2 that we launched this year. In March of 21, we launched our registered nurse apprenticeship. And in 2022, we started our public health practitioner, and it's great to be working both with our North East and Yorkshire and the Humber employers for our public health practitioners. So that's sort of moved a little bit further south. And we've got a number of other ones that are in development, but just to highlight 4 of the key ones, some of which we hope to have running from September: occupational therapist, senior journalist, postgraduate engineer, and enhanced clinical practitioner. A couple of other things is just to say, obviously we've had lots of new employers that have come as part of it, and one of our biggest projects that we started in the last 12 months was a new national nursing apprenticeship in conjunction with Spire Healthcare. So that started in August 2021, and with all of these wonderful developments, our team as well has doubled in size, which is great. And just a last sort of thing just to highlight from the year is that we're now seeing more and more achievement, which is wonderful, and it's great to see so many amazing apprentices coming through to the end of their apprenticeship. We've had some excellent endpoint assessment results. For example, our senior leader, we had 81% of our apprentices have passed with distinction or merit, and we've had 100% pass rate. And that's such a fabulous achievement, and especially at times when it's been so challenging with the pandemic and lots of other sort of demands as a result of that. So thank you for listening to a quick highlight around our what's been happening at the university. I'm delighted now to pass on to Helen Tong, project lead for Dynamo Talent Engine, and she's going to have a chat to you about that.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much to the University of Sunderland for inviting me here this morning. I'm probably going to turn my video off because I am having issues at the minute at my end. So I'm sure the presentation anyway is more interesting than looking at me. But if I just turn that off, that's great. Thank you. Okay, so yes, as Joe said, I'm the project lead for Dynamo Northeast Talent Engine Programme. And you know, I'm really pleased to be here today, you know, to share with you the work that really we're doing to try and enable individuals to enter into the Northeast tech sector and obviously gain jobs across the region. I'll talk a little bit more about the talent engine in a minute, but just for those of you, next Claire please, just for those of you who aren't aware of Dynamo Northeast, we are an industry-led not-for-profit group set up with a core mission to grow the Northeast tech economy through collaboration, innovation and skills. And we really are the voice for the sector regionally and nationally, generating just noise to really promote the region as a hotspot for tech and those digital businesses across tech. You know, we are made up of a lot of organisations, tech organisations, large corporate employers, various consultants, technology hubs, etc. Obviously, education providers really important, and suppliers into the industry. And as an industry-led initiative and as a non-for-profit, you know, we really do rely on the support of our regional organisations to really help achieve that regional growth and promote our region externally. And as I say there at the bottom, you know, at the heart of it, you know, really are passionate to see our region and our sector prosper. Next. Dynamo has been operating since 2012 and a network, as I say, for the regional tech firms, we really have had a strong track record since then. We've got over 165 members, which represent approximately 45,000 employees who work across the tech sector. And on top of that, you know, we really do have, you know, a strong advisory board with over 40 members that represent the regional technology sector employers. You know, as you can see there, you know, large sector employers as Accenture and Sage, employees with significant digital workforce requirements like DWP and the NHS, lots and lots of technology, SME technology businesses like Word Nerds and Opencast, and then, you know, our education providers, of which, you know, all of them are members, and of course, including the Sunderland University. Next. So in order to support sustainable growth in the digital sector and the North East and the North of Tyne, you know, we really need to develop and focus on that development of the talent pipeline. So the Digital Talent Engine is a 3-year project that I've been brought in to lead, and it's part funded. We've been given some really good funding by the North of Tyne Combined Authority as part of their £10 million digital growth and innovation programme. We are in our first year. It's been up and running for the last 4 months, and we'll continue to deliver on the objectives during the duration of the project. Next. We know that talent availability is a primary sort of bottleneck for growth in the digital ecosystem in the North East. And it is estimated that there are currently, you know, at least 4,000 vacancies across that 45,000 strong Dynamo digital network alone. And the region has shown real resilience throughout the pandemic. However, you know, our research has shown that some Northeast employers really are struggling to recruit, with over 40% saying that they were, you know, only able to fill their vacancies compared to the national average of nearly 80%, which is a huge difference. And this means that, you know, employers really are needing to develop innovative ways to attracting and training candidates, you know, including those who are obviously not in employment or education and training. But degree and non-degree apprenticeships and work placement programs and boot camps are extremely important, and all of those can be signposted and you know, as a real channel for education providers to get to you know, prospects for the future, for any future programs. Next, please, Claire. So the key objective really of the Talent Engine is the creation and the fulfilment of meaningful digital roles. And really, to achieve this, what we are looking to do is to help employers to develop and make available those suitable jobs, you know, to get those vacancies out there in front of the right candidates, and help candidates then to build also their understanding, their skills, to be pushed in the direction of where they can actually upskill and also do you know, find those sort of educational hubs that they can look to, and then ultimately fill the jobs within the region and keep them in the region if we can. And then obviously help academic and training organisations, you know, collaborate with them to sort of help to build those relevant matching students to candidates and give them that opening. And it really is a people and job-focused objective of the project. So really important part of what we're doing. Next. So to really meet these, what are we doing to try and facilitate this? So firstly, we're developing creative flagship digital assets and a platform for candidates. And really, this is where candidates will be signposted to finding those digital opportunities, whether it's education because they need to go into training, or whether they're coming out of training for those jobs across the region. And really also through the platform, we want to demystify the roles available in the digital workforce and just really reduce that intimidation factor that we know is there from talking to people looking to get into the sector. And secondly, a hiring platform enabling candidates basically to go to employers and see the breadth of the companies that are looking to hire digital talent. It really is a very overwhelming process for candidates when sort of they're coming out and looking into the market. And really the hiring portal provide those opportunities for those digital roles for high footfall employers, but also really importantly for the small to medium enterprise organisations who don't necessarily have that number of recruitment or budget for recruitment. And we'll basically hopefully have a large pool of interested candidates that also employers can go to sort of help with the recruiting and the efforts for entry-level roles. We'll also be delivering outreach campaigns, a number of events over the year to basically engage with with everybody, you know, employers, students and candidates. Next please, Claire. And we'll work also with employers and training providers. You know, there's a lot of huge amount of work that's going on, but, you know, maybe just connecting and getting that collaboration. So we'll work a bit of as a concierge sort of service for that. And we'll really nurture early career and new to digital talent roles by trying to really activate a community and a mentorship network, really trying to get mentors involved to help to increase the retention of employees across the region. Slide 9, please, Claire. So the digital and technology industry really does support a broad spectrum of roles, and we know that, and it requires a you know, wide range of skills, and the talent engine is really there to help show how entry-level roles can expand or evolve over time, you know, give that real information to candidates who are looking to get onto those pathways. And, you know, through the partnerships with educations and training providers, really further the learning paths and we'll highlight those. And employers, again, can showcase their vacancies and in-role training programs. So there's a real collaboration to try and bring this together. And, you know, this is particularly pertinent as the pace of technology changes, really meaning that there's a continual learning culture that needs to go on rather than just that once and done training, which is just really essential. Next. So the talent engine really is there to provide accessible and diverse pathways into employment, you know, as I say, by driving that collaboration across, you know, employers, training providers, and, you know, really clearly articulating the digital career paths that are available within the region, provide more early career and new digital training focused roles. And it will support employers in the region to work collaboratively, I think, with education providers, you know, because that's already going on and we know that, but this is really sort of a one-stop shop to try and sort of, you know, move the candidates and move people around in the right direction. Curating, you know, ultimately more entry points into digital careers. We know that there is an issue there with, you know, early entry provision into businesses. And, you know, we are there really to support regional businesses and particularly the SMEs, as I said earlier, you know, to raise their profile of their digital role opportunities and attract the talent that they need to fuel their growth, and not forget about those in amongst all of the very large businesses that are coming into the business. Next, so our candidates, basically, they're going to come from all avenues, different avenues, from school leavers to college students to graduates. And we really want to build that confidence with them that there are real opportunities in the Northeast, you know, whether you're looking for digital apprenticeships, you know, digital tech roles, you know, going into upskilling through training. And also our candidates could be boomerang as people who are looking to return to the Northeast tech sector, or even exploring, you know, a change of career. That the talent engine really is there to navigate those opportunities for candidates who are either in tech or looking to get into tech. Next. We are very well aware that those individuals outside the digital tech sector, so those are looking to try and come in, sometimes don't understand, you know, what roles are within the sector, don't understand the language, you know, what it entails. And we really want to entice those people, you know, to understand what skills they need. And, you know, there are many factors, you know, driving this, including fast pace of, you know, the development of the industry. And, you know, we really want to try and inspire people to pursue digital roles in whatever way we can. We're going to try and do this through our career families. This is where basically people will come in and they will, you know, work out what it is they want to do into digital, and then look at where that career family lies and that digital path, and that will hopefully help to give them a little bit of information to pursue further career paths. Next. Where specific skills are required, you know, relevant training will be signposted, you know, with a range of, as I said, academic and training providers, including, you know, obviously any financial support, but really that'll come from the training providers, channels. And it will really just be a sort of signpost to them. Mentors, are really, really, really important in this process. People who have followed, a similar personal path, and they'll be able to provide support. So we really will be looking out for mentors from businesses and universities and colleges, etc., to sort of, have past students, etc., there on hand. But really, as I said at the bottom there, whatever the candidate avenue, the talent engine really will navigate, the most relevant channel for that candidate to explore. Next, please. And for businesses, really important that, the talent engine is there to try and create a pool of available candidates. And also, we really want to try and get as many employers signed up, as soon as we can. Next, please. And almost finally, so education, as we know, really is the key to success, both in building digital and technology skills, and really improving that transition from education to employment. That is really the ultimate goal, getting our candidates and our students, employment, and hopefully retaining them within the Northeast and keeping our talent pool. And the talent engine is there, and it's designed to make that navigation of digital roles and careers just more accessible and more understandable. And individuals across all sectors can explore the jobs that are available, and really work in those really great technology powered industries. Next. So finally, the key constraints to tech at the moment, and in that sort of sector, as in our sector, as we know, has been identified as the availability of talent, digital talent. Now, I believe we have huge amounts of talent across the region. I believe there is talent there, it's just untapped into, or there is some sort of blockage or disconnect. We have a huge amount of talent, and I'm sure the University of Sunderland would back me in saying that, as well as many of you online. But we will try to, work to address this, creating a digital platform for individuals to sort of navigate and look at the jobs across the region, and create employment opportunities, allow people to, promote their businesses and their offering. We really are there it's designed to provide that glue. And really better integrate everybody together and really have that collaborative way of working. So really that is it. I've tried to keep to my time in such a huge project to give you a bit of an overview. But really, just in finishing, we are facing challenges, a challenging time in tech, but it's really exciting for the region. We have a huge amount going for us, and so many projects that are going on out there, of which we are one, and really want to collaborate and work with people across the region. We're going to be up and running, very soon, and we're just about to launch also our first round of sponsorship. So again, if anybody's interested in sponsoring any part of the project, it's really important. So please do let me know and get in touch. And next, Claire, is my email, but I'm sure it can be sent around to you all. Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much, Helen. That was really very interesting, and really a superb, exciting project to be working on. So, and interesting, our polls at the beginning were very much around about digital and, how that is on the increase. So, great opportunities for people in general, but also for employers as well, to support you. So thank you for that. That's excellent.
Sorry if I was talking so quickly. I just knew I had to get through everything.
It was perfect. I'm the same. We'll chat. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for listening, everybody.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Helen. Just before we move now on to our round table, which is our next part of today's session, I'd just like to launch, actually, premiere, or whatever we'd like to call it, our very hot off the press new video for degree apprenticeships, which just gives a little bit of insight into the university and higher and degree apprenticeships. So, Claire, if you wouldn't mind, that'd be great if you can share that.
We were the second university in England to offer degree apprenticeships, and we now offer a wide range of them across several industry sectors. So apprenticeships offer a cost-effective way of attracting fresh talent to our business. They also provide existing employees with new skills and motivation.
All of the courses that we develop are focused on that employer engagement, workforce, and making sure that we are developing career-focused courses.
We are very much focused on the students that we work with. We are developing them so that they are equipped to engage in their professions.
I ended up starting an apprenticeship in electromechanical engineering, and I've been here ever since, and I wouldn't go back.
I can now apply the theory to practice, which I couldn't do before because I had some knowledge, but not the kind of knowledge I've got from actually attending university.
So I think the highlights for me were reflecting on my leadership skills at the beginning and then watching myself develop over the course of the programme.
It's helped my job role because it means I could go from a Band 4 associate practitioner to a Band 5 registered biomedical scientist.
Following my involvement with the apprenticeship, I was able to explore this further and in more depth to extend my understanding of change management.
I feel like every week I can take away something from the session and take it back to my team and say, this is what I've learned and this is how I feel like I can apply it in my current day-to-day role.
Getting practical grounding in a real non-theoretical way has been invaluable. It's been great.
It will allow you to reflect on where you are and how you operate and how to act in certain situations, which is to the benefit of yourself, your team and the organisation.
Our programmes, designed in collaboration with employers, help employees develop skills for the future, support workforce development, address skills gaps and help business growth.
The on-the-job learning combined with the more traditional learning and development being delivered by the university as an incredible foundation for apprentices who we genuinely see as becoming the future talents, moving on, progressing, evolving into the wider global Ubisoft network.
An apprenticeship isn't just somebody who comes in and makes the tea, does some photocopying. And for me, it's about raising the profile, not only within our organisation, but actually raising the profile of apprenticeships and how much they are really going to be the way forward.
I personally think apprenticeships makes training more efficient and the students can see theory they've been taught being applied to practice in the laboratories.
The organisation really benefits from the employees coming back into the business with the skills that they provide and they've been able to have access to, whether that's been an internal colleague who we've used to kind of upskill, and also recruiting from an external position where, you know, they've come in at a low level apprenticeship, but actually again using that as a bit of a progression route.
It gives us that opportunity to recruit within our own regions as well, and again making sure that we can retain the talent in the North East via higher degree opportunities.
So if you're considering an apprenticeship or you're interested to find out more about the opportunities for your business, please get in touch.
Premiered. Thank you very much for looking and watching that. I hope you enjoyed it. So we're going to move on to our round table now. In a minute I'm going to introduce our panel members, and they're going to introduce themselves, and then we're going to have some questions where I'm going to lead a question and ask all our panel members for their response. Please feel free to interact in the chat and add your comments as we go along. It'd be great to hear your views as we go through the different questions. So this session is going to take us till about 11 o'clock. So first of all, I'd like to invite and say a big thank you to Camille Carter, Director of iProspect. Camille, over to you.
Hi there, yes, my name's Camille. As Jo mentioned, I've been Director at iProspect for around 6 years now. Been in the media industry and the tech industry for around 10. And iProspect is, on the face of it, just a global media agency, but we have a base and a hub in Newcastle, just over the river. And we're really, it's really important to us that apprenticeships are part of our sustainable growth plan in terms of business planning moving forward. I'm coming at this from a bit of a dual angle. Not only am I an employer of apprentices, a lot of my team are apprentices themselves, But I am also doing a level 5 apprenticeship myself in transformational leadership at the moment. And really, we are very, very keen to make this part of our recruitment model sort of throughout the future, but also part of how we develop our existing talent within our network as well. So I'm really excited to be discussing some of the ideas today, and thank you very much to the University of Sunderland for inviting me to join.
Oh, thanks, Camille. Great to have you here. Okay, I'd like to invite Rachel Dyson and ask Rachel to introduce herself. Rachel is a senior BMS training lead and works at Gateshead Trust. Hi, Rachel, thanks for joining us.
Morning, Joe. Morning, everybody. It's good to be here. And I was particularly gratified to see in your little video you've just shown some of the apprentices that we did endpoint assessments for earlier this year, well, last year, sorry. My involvement in apprenticeships is still quite new. I'm working along with Charlotte as an endpoint assessor. We do now have a level 6 apprentice where I'm working, but we're using that as to progress somebody who's done a previous degree in a non-acceptable subject for the IBMS for state registration to actually get her progressed to be a biomedical scientist. So that's moving people from APs to qualified scientists, but we're also looking at, we've got some people who'll be interested in the level 4, which we're busy developing. I've been involved in training, I've been a BMS for 34 years now, so it's about time I retired, isn't it? But we're looking at developing from, I mean, we've always provided placements for university degrees in biomed science and later in healthcare science, and it's a natural progression to start looking at employing some apprentices. We haven't employed anybody as an apprentice yet. We've just put people onto the apprenticeship programme, but we're certainly trying to push that. I think the NHS has kind of got a little bit left behind with apprenticeships. It's been late coming in, and I don't know whether that's just the communication within our organisation about how it works, but we've got an organisation development team. We've got a training, we don't have a training manager for pathology, so it's kind of been we've been a bit late on the uptake, but I'm certainly pushing it because I think it's the way forward, definitely for our guys.
Excellent, thank you, Rachel. And yes, absolutely. I mean, everybody's been coming in at different stages, and for some of you here today might be very, very new to apprenticeships. One thing is it's growing, and it's great that it's having such more of a presence even at government level right the way through, because I mean, I've advocated, my job's all about apprenticeships. I live and breathe it every day, but it is great that more and more people are really putting investment into apprenticeships as a choice now for upskilling their staff at all levels as well. And it's great, you know, having it right up to degree level 7 level. So that's great. So thank you, Rachel. I'd now like to introduce Alex Miles. Thank you, Alex, for joining us. Alex is the Managing Director of West and North Yorkshire Learning Providers. Hi, Alex.
Morning, welcome. Thank you for inviting me, and let me join your panel discussion today. Yeah, as Joe said, Alex Miles, Managing Director of West and North Yorkshire Learning Providers, but from Monday, Yorkshire Learning Providers. We're going for a rebrand and a rebirth of the organisation. We are the regional network for Yorkshire that looks after the training institutions that deliver apprenticeships from level 2 to level 7 and 8. And we work with around 100 training organisations across Yorkshire to really support them in their journey through the delivery and curriculum design and development of apprenticeships in all sectors and all levels. We work with independent training providers, colleges, universities, third sector, community learning, awarding organisations, careers services. So anyone that's really got their toe in the water of apprenticeships, we're there to support them and be their representative body at a regional level, but also get involved in supporting, being an ally to, but also challenging apprenticeship and education policy at national level and regional level where we feel we need to ally it or champion it or challenge it. I'm also a massive advocate and fan and passionate about apprenticeships and the benefits that they can bring young people, adults, businesses. And I've recently been involved with the Social Mobility Commission to write a toolkit on how apprenticeships really can drive forward social mobility for those communities and those areas within obviously my passionate area is Yorkshire, how we can use education, how we can link apprenticeships and health and well-being all through that kind of apprenticeship space. So really committed and passionate about the benefits apprenticeships can bring, and genuinely believe they will be the pivotal part of this country's economic recovery.
I couldn't agree more. No, that's great, Alex. And just to also add, obviously, I think I mentioned earlier, we are working with Yorkshire and the Humber with our public health apprenticeship, and we have now got a site that we are working in Northallerton. So in the near future as well, there will be much more activity happening in Yorkshire, which, being a Yorkshire lassie myself, I'm delighted to hear.
I visited it yesterday. It's a wonderful place to be, the Northallerton campus.
Yeah, so you'll hear more over the coming months about our Northallerton campus. Watch that spot. Thank you so much, Alex. Thanks for joining us. I'd like to now introduce Jordan Osborne, who's the Partnership Manager for the Institute of Engineering and Technology. Hi, Jordan. Thanks for joining us.
Morning, Jo, and thank you for having me. So I work for the Institution of Engineering and Technology, sometimes referred to as the IET, and have done so for about 4.5 years. As Jo mentioned, currently my role is as a Partnership Account Manager. The IET is the UK's largest professional engineering institution at the moment, and we do lots and lots of different things besides just supporting apprentices. Predominantly my role at the moment is to work closely with our partner organisations in the northeast of England. Many of these include academic institutions such as the University of Sunderland, but also the SME market as well from industry employers' perspective. I think one of the things that I've got to see while I've been working at the IET is not just the side of apprenticeships, but I do a lot of work with the conventional undergraduate students as well. And that's given me a really good context of some of the important contrasts between an undergraduate degree and a degree apprenticeship or a higher apprenticeship as well. And hopefully that will help form some of my opinions later on in the panel. One of the purposes of why we actually partner with organisations in both academia and industry is to promote best practice and share knowledge and encourage collaborations between organisations. I think it's something that often organisations or industry and academia don't do enough of. So that's what we're there to do, is to try and enable that, but also to support employers and their workforce with professional skills development and continued professional development, because learning doesn't just happen on an apprenticeship, it doesn't just happen at university, it happens in the workplace too. And I think it's really important for every employee to understand what their future goal or their career aspirations are, and it's also for employers to understand how they can help their staff achieve that. So we do a lot of work in the engineering and technology space to help people achieve extra qualifications and professional titles such as chartered engineer. There might be some people that are interested in engineering today, but also in other sectors there are similar titles as well. So just want to say thank you for having me. We've got a great panel and I'm really looking forward to hearing the opinions and thoughts of some of the other panelists too.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Jordan. And I couldn't agree more. I mean, it's a minimum of 20% of the time that sort of for your off-the-job learning, which is obviously the university, but it's that considerable 80% or slightly less time in the workplace that really does also make that significant difference. And as apprenticeships are all very much job role specific, you know, it is about applying that theory into practice in the workplace. And I think one of the things, you know, I find is that, and some of the discussions and viewpoints, and we'll talk about that later on, is that understanding of the collaboration and how it's a partnership for that journey for that individual. It isn't a degree while you're doing work, it's an apprenticeship that they're actually going on. So hopefully that might come up in the discussions. Thank you, Jordan. Appreciate that. I'd love to introduce now David Pearson, our programme leader at the university, who is a programme leader of our MBA Senior Leader. Thank you, David, for joining us today.
Thanks, Jo. Good morning, everybody. As Jo says, I'm David Pearson, a Senior Lecturer in Leadership at the University and Programme Lead for the Senior Leader Apprenticeship. New to the University, I've only been with them for almost 12 months, so started last year, and one of my first jobs was to put the Senior Leader Apprenticeship through reapproval. Previous to that, apprenticeships have been a part of my entire working life. So I think I've been working now for 36 years. Started as an apprentice in 1986 in an engineering subject. And over those 36 years, I think I've been involved in pretty much all aspects of apprenticeships. So I've been an apprentice, I've trained apprentices on the job, on the shop floor, I've assessed the apprentices against the standards. I moved in and redesigned all of the apprenticeship programs through a role in HR. Eventually became a training manager, so managed the apprenticeship programs, worked closely with numerous partners to ensure that the programs were fit for what we needed, but also bearing in mind the issues that the providers have to deal with. And then more recently have moved in and now taking part in the delivery of apprenticeships. So I think I've seen every aspect of them. I'm a firm believer of apprenticeships. With the Apprentice Ambassador Network, and still have lots of contacts with people within that network, promoting them, and do fully believe they're the way forward. Without an apprenticeship, I wouldn't be sitting here today. Don't know what I would be doing, but I certainly wouldn't be doing what I'm doing today. So, a huge advocate for apprenticeships in all shapes and forms.
Thank you, David. I'm not sure whether it's my internet, but I was having just a little bit of interference on your sound. It might be better. I know it's not ideal. It might be better just to put your camera off and see if that's any better. But thank you so much.
Yeah, will do.
It's great to have you here because absolutely you've been through in so many different capacities and roles in terms of involvement with apprenticeships. So that's really, really great. Excellent. And our last final panelist is Michael Douglas. Hi, Michael. We'd like to introduce you. Thank you for joining us. Michael is our programme leader for our BEng Engineering Practice Apprenticeship, which is the electric and electronic and also manufacturing. Hi, Michael.
Morning, everybody. Nice to see everybody here. As Joyce Ears, I'm a senior lecturer in engineering here at the university. I've been here for about 3.5 years now, and I'm programme leader for the degree apprenticeships. I'm very passionate about apprenticeships. That's the route I took myself when I left school, so I didn't go the traditional university route. And I've been teaching apprentices teaching and working with apprentices for about 14 years now, in both the FE sector and the HE sector. So consider myself very fortunate that I get to work with them pretty much on a daily basis.
Thank you, Michael. That's great. And it's great to have you all here today. So we're going to start our discussion and have a chat as a round table. I've got sort of 3, possibly 4, see how we get along, but definitely 3 questions I'd like to ask today. And I'll read out the question and then I'll invite each of you, if you wouldn't mind, just to give your opinions or your answers, and then opportunities for some discussion at the end of it. And as I say, panel, anybody here today, if you'd like to join in the chat, we'd love to hear your comments as we go along. So the first question I'd like to ask is, it's about a statement, it really is. Apprenticeships support building a sustainable workforce. What are your views on this statement? So apprenticeships support building a sustainable workforce. What are your views on this statement? So I'm going to pass the virtual microphone to Camille to kickstart, if that's all right.
No problem. Thank you, Jo. Yes, I think it's a really interesting question. And, you know, as many businesses over the past 18 months, we've suffered with recruitment challenges, we've suffered with mobilising a remote workforce. And what we've found is that apprenticeships have become part of our ability to create a pipeline of new talent, but continue that kind of talent development throughout every level of our business. So in terms of sustainable growth, I think when we reflect on my initial view of apprenticeships, which was somebody that came in at entry level and worked with business, when we start to look at that differently in apprenticeships as a structured training model across the entire workforce, there is a real solid and very well managed and accountable approach to training and to career development for people. So I think for me, of sustainable growth, apprenticeships offer a complete flip on what was quite a stale model in terms of internal career progression within organisations, and instead present an opportunity for people to better themselves and further themselves, not just through, learning about their very, very specific, the very, very specific niche that they work within, but really expand their career opportunities and the growth potential as an individual, whilst benefiting organisations as well.
Excellent. Thank you, Camille. Is everybody finding the sound all right for this as we're going through? Yep, fantastic. Great. Thank you, Camille. I agree. And I think it is very much, isn't it? It's great that it's that sort of, it's just not so narrow. It's very broad and gives that perspective. And some apprenticeships in particular require, you to work in totally in different areas and aspects. So it really gives that rich and enriched learning experience. Excellent. Rachel, can I pass the virtual microphone to yourself now?
Okay, I might call on Charlotte for some backup on this one, because we're still very new at the apprenticeship business, and my answer to your question is hopefully. I hope it is the way forward, because obviously as an organisation we pay an apprenticeship levy, and my involvement has been to try and call on that, to try and improve the training we've got within our own department, and to try and progress people that we already employ. But certainly going forward, we're going to need to look at employing supernumerary apprentices as trainees at levels possibly 2, 4 and 6. So I'm hopeful that that's going to be the way forward. I know apprenticeships are expanding, and as I said before, I think the NHS is a little bit behind some of the other sectors in terms of how they use apprenticeships. I think the nursing apprenticeship coming online is going to be a really good thing, because that's a way of actually progressing nurses who've been nursing assistants or healthcare assistants to become registered nurses, and there's a massive vacancy problem, and I think going forward in the NHS that's going to be the way forward. We can't wait for people to come out of university 6, 7, 8 years down the line as qualified and able to go, and then have to train them in the workplace as well. If you've got an apprentice there, they know your ways by the time they've finished their degree, that they're learning on the job, they're applying what they know at university rather than it just being theoretical. And I'm, as I say, I'm just really hopeful that will help to build a sustainable future for NHS jobs as well as in other areas.
It is very much about thinking of the future, isn't it? And I think that's been one of the things, especially nursing. It's a really topical hotspot at the moment, isn't it? We've got a big shortage, and it's going to get worse because of the backlog, and we've seen significant growth. Obviously we've had this big contract that we've got with Spire Healthcare that started in August, which was a big new recruitment to bring in and train up new nurses, and we've had a lot of people, and we're just in the process of enrolling, and they're starting this January, February. So it's interesting, but I think it is that opportunity to, they actually are learning, and by the end of it, if you're nurturing somebody who's going to be really great for your business, and for that supporting with the skills gaps that are possibly there in the future.
It's interesting that your partnership is going to be with Spire. Maybe they're ahead of the curve rather than the NHS still catching up, possibly, because they're a business rather than the way that the NHS is run, and that big corporate Borg thing that we have to put up with.
It's been interesting because they have taken it as being a corporate, an approach that is new. I mean, don't get me wrong, they've taken on existing staff as well. But we have actually just started in January a significant number from the northeast and County Durham, and those sort of areas have actually brought on quite Cumbria are actually bringing on new recruits for the full 5-year programme. So it's starting now to drip feed, but up until now it's not been as significant, but it is certainly so it's possibly on its way, Rachel.
Good.
Great. Alex, could I ask you the question now, if you don't mind? You can now have the virtual microphone.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I'm going to completely agree with that statement. I think apprenticeships are the future for sustained employment, but I also think that they provide an opportunity to bring in new talent, a fresh outlook. I've been employing apprentices for 15 years, and every single one of them have come in at whatever level with a fresh pair of eyes, a fresh outlook, a creative or innovative response to a process or a procedure, have improved. Each one of them have improved something, even if it's just by saying, why do you do it like that? It's an opportunity to kind of look at your processes leaner and cleaner. It also gives businesses an opportunity to rip up the old rule book when it comes to recruitment. I don't look at prior attainment at school when I'm looking to take on apprentice. I look at their creativity, their mind, how they like to work, who they like to interact with. And it's really enabled new opportunities for people that wouldn't necessarily have moved into an education space or an employment space like they have. And I think if we can let apprenticeships rip up the old archaic recruitment processes that this country still has, it can only be a good thing. Obviously, when they're on an apprenticeship, you can kind of mould apprentices to your processes, your procedures, or the way that you do work. And you know, they are learning on the job, so they are bringing these new ideas and this new pair of eyes to the business or the functions or the processes. It's also an opportunity for those that are in work to look at new pathways or progressions or opportunities within the business. And you know, that can only be a good thing when we're looking at sustainable employment, when we're looking at, you know, future productivity and growth for our businesses. And as I said in my intro, apprenticeships are a key driver in supporting social mobility. And if we can rip up the rule book, look outside, you know, our traditional recruitment methods, then we can open up the doors to opportunities to those that might not have walked into an education or into a business or job role or vocation because of the old kind of archaic ways that we used to recruit. So yeah, I fully support that statement, and you know, think every organisation should have apprentices from top down, bottom up, and all the way around.
Great, and you're absolutely right. And interestingly, just looking at some of the chat that's coming through here, I know David's talked about they are enrolling 10 to 15 individuals on a senior leader every year. We've actually got Laura Woodcock on today. She's one of our Spire nurses, who mentioned that if it had been the traditional route, she wouldn't have been able to actually join that. And Laura, it's great to have your comments there, and that's exactly what it is, isn't it? It's that bringing in talent and opportunities to help develop a workforce that brings in people like yourself and helps with this. So that's really, really great. And it's, you know, it's lovely that it is important and at the forefront of what people are seeing the importance of it, I guess is what I'm saying. Excellent, thanks Alex, really great, some really great things that you've touched on there. And we're going to pass the microphone to Jordan now.
Yeah, thanks for that, Joe. I think I'd have to agree with your statement as well. I think apprenticeships do have a huge role to play in building a sustainable workforce. I mean, the core of apprenticeships is bringing together the theory, the practice, and the on-the-job experience to create an individual who is highly motivated and capable at doing their job. And often, no matter if it's a big company or a small company or a medium-sized company, it's what that company needs. And the fact that an individual can be molded to that and molded to what the company needs is really, really important. I think more and more companies need to make use of that. I mean, the market itself, just throughout COVID, is rapidly changing, no matter which industry you're working on. Obviously, we're moving to, in engineering terms, moving on to the electric revolution as well, which has changed things slightly. And I think there probably are people listening at some point that have taken that conventional route of go to university, get a degree, join a graduate scheme and work your way up the corporate ladder. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And I think that will continue. I think as time goes on, people will continue to do that because it's always been the old way. However, I think those same people will probably agree with me that there comes a point in your career where having a conventional qualification is to some extent irrelevant. And what really matters to a future employer or current employer is the projects that you've worked on, the skills that you have, and how that proves your capability in your field and demonstrates your ability as an individual to learn and grow. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that apprenticeships are the answer to every organisation's issues, because, you know, in every company, there's always going to be some form of skills gap because it's just the way the world works and the world changes. And there's also always going to be a glass ceiling for new employees, for existing employees as well. But I think that apprenticeships really help to tackle the sustainability issues of a workforce in 3 different ways. I think the upskilling element is really, really important, and this is coming from an engineering point of view. Obviously, electric vehicles have been booming for a few years now, and there are so many workforces that aren't ready and adjusted to the new technology and the sustainability element and the government's net zero goals. And a lot of that, I think, will come through upskilling existing workforces. And obviously the market itself is highly competitive, so new apprentices will be thrown into the mix of that as well. And the answer isn't always to hire someone new. It is looking at what talent you have and how you can apply an apprenticeship and how you can develop that talent in something better. But I also think that apprenticeships instill a culture of continuous improvement. Alex touched upon it. I think it's a really, really good point. It's not just about saying this is what we do as a company and this is how we're going to carry on doing it. It's about this is how we do something as a company. Does that work for you, the practitioners in the business? What's the feedback? How can we change and adapt as an organization? And I think apprenticeships and on-the-job experience always help for companies to get that kind of feedback, but also the element of professional development beyond the period of apprenticeships. I work with loads and loads of undergraduate students, and lots of them think that once I get my degree, that's it. That's all the technical knowledge that I ever have to have, and all I have to do is then go and apply that in the workplace. But we all know that learning doesn't just finish at university. Learning simply starts at university or starts at college or starts an apprenticeship, and it goes on and on and on, all the way throughout your career to wherever you want it to go. And I think there's also a really important element that's drawn out of apprenticeships from the companies and the organisations that I work with. I see it creating a work environment where mistakes are turned into lessons rather than a telling off. And I think more companies need to, have that approach of if something goes wrong or if someone doesn't have the capability to complete a task, how can we help them to do that? How can we adapt that individual to what the business actually needs rather than just finding someone new from a new pool of talent? So I think in some ways it will have a huge impact to it. I don't think it will take over the world entirely or the UK entirely or the North entirely. I think there still will always be that element of conventional studies and people taking that route, but I think it's certainly with young people growing in popularity, and I think that the tides are almost changing, and I think we'll see that in the coming years with the increased numbers of apprentices in all different sectors around the UK and the North.
Some really great points you've touched on there, Jordan, and I absolutely agree with all the points that have been raised so far. And I think one very interesting point just to draw from that is it absolutely doesn't have to be new people. It can be existing people, and it is that journey, and it is looking, giving those people within your organisation the opportunity to really blossom and to grow and to develop and to provide those opportunities, through through an apprenticeship, and really investing in your staff and in your workforce really helps to retain some really great people and really develop a lot of really great people as well. And absolutely, it is about the other things that sit around the apprenticeship, and it's all that continual learning. And I mentioned at the beginning, one of our big projects that we're working on at the moment is this ESF funded program, which is all about upskilling the workforce. And unfortunately, it's just for the Northeast, but I'm sure there's similar things in different regions of the country. But it's future thinking. It's developing people. It's keeping everybody current, and there's some amazing things that are available too. So great, thank you. The microphone is going to David now, if that's all right. Over to you, David.
Thanks, Jo. I've put a headset on, so I'm hoping the sound's a little bit better.
It is.
In terms of the question, I think I would just add one word to the statement where it's apprenticeships can support. Where does that come from? I think I worked in a automotive organisation for many years, and at the time that I left, we could trace our apprenticeship heritage back 41 years. And in those 41 years, we had recruited every single year bar one. And the 1 year we didn't was around the time of the financial crisis in 2008, 2009. And at the end of the 4 years where we had no apprentices coming out of their time and finishing, we had a huge shortfall of people. And because people had been made redundant in that time, and we had no apprentices coming out at the time. We ended up with a huge gap. In terms of that sustainable workforce, what it created for us was an ever-evolving pipeline of great talent who started at sort of 16 to 18-year-old as apprentices on the shop floor in the skilled trades, multi-skilled maintenance, tools, quality, and areas like that. But the apprenticeship and the knowledge they gained through the apprenticeship gave them the ability to be able to progress and grow with the organisation. They knew how the organisation worked, they knew the systems, they knew the issues that we had, and that equipped them with the skills to be able to move on. So we, at points in time, we had apprentices at pretty much every level of the organisation, including MD. The MD in the early 90s had been an apprentice, and he'd progressed through there. But very senior engineering managers, all of our engineering, probably 75% of our engineering workforce had been apprentices with us and had progressed within the organisation. And I think the benefit of apprentices really came to the fore with the introduction of the levy, because it gave us the opportunity much easier to access apprenticeships when the levy came for our existing employees. So we started developing programmes within the organisation, particularly around the leadership at all levels. So level 3, level 5, level 7, where we developed programmes and then mapped our programmes against the appropriate apprenticeship to make sure that the apprentice fit for purpose for us. And we never had that real sort of skill shortage. I think Jordan will be aware of this with his background, that at certain points in time, we have a massive skill shortage, particularly in engineering. We couldn't recruit quality people. We couldn't recruit engineers. We never really had a problem with that because we already had them ready-made and we would backfill them with apprentices at the bottom of the pipeline. Really agreed with Alex's point in terms of changing the thought on recruitment. And that was something that we did probably about 15, 16 years ago, where we moved away from looking at people purely as sort of the qualifications they'd achieved at GCSE. And we started recruiting more around their attitude and passion and their ambition, and looking at really why did they want to come into engineering, why did they want to work in the automotive sector, and we saw a big turnaround in terms of our retention, where sometimes previous to that we were getting people who were like, yeah, it's not really what I wanted, whereas that passion and that attitude shone through and then supported their further development as they moved on. So yeah, absolutely, they certainly can. But I think from an employer point of view, you've got to plan that within your succession planning sort of strategy, and also around the talent management. So what are you going to do? Sometimes if you want a quick fix and you want to fill a space, the apprenticeship isn't going to do that. You've got to be looking about 2, 3, 4 years ahead in terms of where do we think we're going to be, and then you can plan that in so that you have this pipeline of really good, enthusiastic, capable people coming.
I couldn't agree more, David, and I think that's where the can and support. If you think it can and you plan and it's there. If it's not planned, that's where the challenges are. Exactly. And I've just picked up some of the chat in the as we're going along. Rachel, it's really interesting to hear your views on the lack of knowledge really around what the apprenticeship offers that are there, and let's hope that more events and things are happening and more publicity out there to really broaden people's knowledge about it, because it can bring so many positives to the table for businesses as well as individuals too. I'm going to pass the microphone to Michael. Over to you, Michael.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much agree with everything everybody said there. To put it into context for engineering and manufacturing, we've already got a massive skills shortage. And obviously preparing for this session, a little bit of research, I kind of dug a few important facts out. the misconception in the UK, I don't suppose it's as strong now as what it was, but we didn't have the skills to build things. We didn't build things. We were a service industry. And actually, when you look at the data, it couldn't be further from the truth. We're the 9th largest manufacturing nation in the world. And in terms of the UK turnover, manufacturing contributes £396 billion towards that industry. What that is actually led to is the manufacturing sector asking the government for help and support in sort of bridging this skills gap. The data I looked at was pre-COVID, so it might be a little bit, might be skewed with a little bit, but there's actually a demand for 1.6 million people at advanced technician and professional level. And basically they broke that down into 2 sets of skills. So you've got your technical skills, where you're programming robots, your materials, your quality engineers, all those different job roles. And I like to think as a university, we kind of take care of those aspects when we teach the students on dairy leagues. But you've also got a shortage of what the manufacturing sector call non-technical skills. So leadership skills, problem solving skills, management skills, and those sorts of higher level skills, if you like. And when you look at the apprenticeship standard, it's actually a perfect model for mapping those 2 sets of skill sets together. So you're still getting the academic and the technical content with us on a sort of a weekly basis at university, but with the knowledge, skills and behaviours of the apprenticeship, you sort of justifying to your employer, and you're doing work-based projects what are hopefully going to have some tangible benefit to the organisation. So definitely think apprenticeships can support building and have a sustainable workforce. It's been good to see that we're addressing some of the skill sets in the UK. And again, just to kind of recap on pretty much what everybody else has said previously to this, it's kind of a no-brainer really, in terms of, we've got a shortage of skills, and apprenticeships is an excellent way of sort of addressing that.
Absolutely, Michael. Some really great points you brought up there, and I think it really highlights some of the challenges we've had, and the way it can work if it's done right as well. So some great points. I'm also just conscious of time as well, so I'm going to bring on our next question. I might have to myself not talk so much and just ask if we can just round up with some key sort of points for the questions, if you don't mind. So the next question is, how do we think higher and degree apprenticeships are perceived? So how do we think higher and degree apprenticeships are perceived? So I'm going to start off with Alex this time, if that's okay. Over to you, Alex.
Hi, yeah, thank you. I guess it's I come in from 2 angles, and it's probably going to be quite a controversial answer, bearing in mind who the audience is. But I think degree and higher apprenticeships have been great in showcasing what apprenticeships can do, and the pathways and the opportunities and progression, and to show that apprenticeships are part of a kind of learning journey. They're not a final destination for people. You could be doing them throughout your life. They're part of the lifelong learning concept. They've got so many pros. My issue with them at the moment is I believe in some instances they are being misused, particularly by levy businesses that want to spend their levy, put in their management, all of their management team on strategic management courses to try and get their levy spent. And what they're doing is in some cases, crediting skills that they've already got. And therefore, I'm concerned that it might damage the brand of apprenticeships. All the great things we've just talked about what apprenticeships are, I really hope that we can get over this hump where we're in a bit of a issue of being a little bit misused at the moment. Where they work well, they are brilliant programs, and what they have done is boost apprenticeships. When we talk to schools, parents, teachers, they want to talk to us about apprenticeships now because there is a higher and degree pathway, whereas previously they might not have wanted to if we stopped the conversation at level 3. So I am kind of both for and not against, but we are in a space at the moment where we need to showcase where it's working really well, and we need to stop the misuse of degree apprenticeships where it's being misused.
Excellent, thank you. I'm going to pass over to Jordan, and then we'll do a roundup at the end. Thanks, Jordan.
Yeah, thanks for that. Yeah, no, I agree with Alex. I think a lot of it comes around showcasing what higher end degree apprenticeships can offer. And just coming at this from a personal angle more than anything, I think there is still a bit of a negative stigma from specifically parents who, you know, naturally are always going to have a huge influence on their children's decisions that they make. And lots of parents, because they did it when they were at school, will push their kids to go through A levels and then university subsequently. But I think that sometimes that comes because apprenticeships, especially kind of your level 2-3 apprenticeships, are kind of seen as the second best for people that aren't academic achievers and aren't maybe capable of going on to do A levels. And I think that's why a lot of the best practice sharing needs to happen. And of course, it is moving in the right direction, but it needs to happen more and more and more from every organisation that supports apprenticeships, because the more information that gets out there and the more parents that are influenced by this, the more young people that will take up the decision and be supported to take up the decision of higher apprenticeships. I am conscious of time and I could probably go on for ages and ages about this. I'll pass it over to someone else and happy to answer any questions afterwards if people have more.
Sorry, you caught me unawares there, Joe. I was just responding to Jordan. Completely agree with everything that you said, Jordan, particularly about the parents being involved in apprenticeships and various sort of steering groups and lobbying probably since the mid-90s. And we've never moved on from that. The parent issue has been an issue for a long, long time. And I think the other area to look at is the teachers within the secondary and sixth form areas also need educating, because I don't think they fully understand the benefits as well. And apprenticeships certainly aren't promoted in the same light as university. I've got a 16-year-old son and a 24-year-old son, and neither of them know anything about it other than what I've told them. Their route is university.
David, do you think that could be to do with the management in the organisations that they're moving into as well? Because I find sometimes I feel like I'm working with dinosaurs. They've been there since the year dot, and they've got this perception of apprenticeships of somebody either making the tea or following somebody around in a boiler suit that they're going to grow into, and it's moved on so much since then. I mean, I know the apprenticeship that my level 6 apprentice is doing is exactly the same course as my PTP trainees, so we know what level it's at. But my previous manager was still of the opinion that we had to provide a substantive post for that person at the end of that, because that's what it was 10 years ago, and they haven't moved on from where they used to be to where we are now.
Yeah, I tend to agree, Rachel. I think if you look back into the early 90s, when the investment in apprenticeships really fell through the floor, and the apprenticeships were genuinely a dirty word. Nobody wanted to be an apprenticeship. I mean, I've spoken to young people that we've recruited who openly say they were told at school that apprenticeships are for the kids. That's their words, not mine. And why would they, with their academic record, want to take on an apprenticeship? I think they're still seen as the typical trade, bricklayer, plumber, dirty engineering firms, and we haven't done anything to change that view.
Okay, I'm going to pass the question then to Michael, just to sort of keep on time, if that's all right, Michael.
Yeah, I mean, it's sort of counter argument to sort of Dave and Rachel. I would say at degree level, that old school teacher saying go and do an apprenticeship, I would genuinely say there's been a massive improvement in that. We get lots of students who would have probably went down the traditional route, who are considering degree apprenticeships, but obviously there's a degree attached to that as well. So it's sort of an almost like for like comparison. But I'm not saying it's perfect, but I'm saying in the 14 years I've been in education, it's massively improved, because those first 2 years in engineering and myself, when I left school, all my friends went to university, and if you didn't, you were seen as not being as bright as kind of what they are. So there is improvements. In terms of perceptions, lots of different ones, really. I would say, and from an employee's point of view, it's obviously a good way for them to use the levy. It's a good way for them to upskill employers, and it's a good way for them to take new people on to the business. And that's what we see in engineering. A lot of it is people upskilling existing employers, but we are starting to see more new people taken on as degree apprentices in the organisation, which is how it's supposed to be, really. From a student point of view, obviously it's a free degree for them. I think we've done a lot of work because I think an apprentice underestimates how much involvement they're going to have. It's not just the degree. When they meet me for the first time, it's the degree is 50% of what you've got to do. And in all honesty, you could argue it's not even the important bit. The important bit is you learning skills and showing how you've learned those skills at work. And in terms of perception from the general public, I don't think people really understand this. And I think there's a bit more work to be done by the government to promote this, because you've got a small section of people who are trying the best to explain the benefits and promote this, but you never see any adverts on the telly, or very rarely do you see anything outside of a college or a university environment. So I think there's a bit more work to be done on that. But positive, good. Good. I think it's generally perceived as a good way for improving your workforce and bridging the skills gap.
Excellent. Thanks, Michael. Some really good points and viewpoints, and I do think there's a bit more work for us to do across the board to get that message out there. David, just before I move on to Camille, was there a quick question?
It was just a question for Michael. Do you think we don't see those issues in engineering because for many years the apprenticeship has been embedded in engineering, but if you're looking to broaden the range of apprenticeships, employers aren't typically as knowledgeable about them as the engineering organisations would be?
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think engineering, I mean, I only really know engineering, so somebody from a different sector might have a different opinion. But yeah, engineering, we kind of live and breathe, and 9 times out of 10, we've been through an apprenticeship ourselves, so we understand the process, we understand the benefits. And like you say, when I was an apprentice, everybody I worked with was at least 30 or 40 years older than me. So there was there's always been a skills gap as far as I'm concerned, really. I think engineering, we are quite good at advertising the degree apprenticeship and apprenticeships in general. And I think it's seen as being a positive route. But I think just talking as degree apprenticeships on a whole, I think the government or somebody needs to take some responsibility and start and advertise it a little bit better than what it is. Because at the minute, it's like I say, it's almost like a secret society where unless you work in education, you don't really know about this.
Yeah, and I think, I was going to say, Laura's just brought a really good point. You know, that as she goes through it and other family members go through it, it sort of becomes more, they've experienced it, so you pass it on to the younger generation, and it will improve. But at the moment, we're not quite there. Rachel, I'll pass it over to you actually then now for the question. And sorry, Camille, I'll come to you at the end if that's all right.
Oh, you want me to talk again?
Yeah. It was just to give your just a very quick high level about how you think they're perceived.
I think certainly within the NHS, I don't think I can ever recall seeing an advertisement or an email or anything advertising an apprenticeship. I know we're running them now, but from the organisation I work in, they're almost invisible. So it's got to be the training leads within individual departments pushing this. And I think we're missing a big opportunity there, because the NHS employs millions of people. So that and that's untapped at the moment, because I don't know whether Charlotte will back me up on this, but I only know about apprenticeships because of my involvement with the university and being an endpoint assessor. That I've seen nothing. I had to chase an apprenticeship for the person I've put on it, and I literally did it with 3 days to spare to get her onto the course this year. So we are still really very new at it. So we don't have that history that engineering and other places have of having apprentices. I hope that'll change, because I definitely think it's the way forward. It's almost moving back to how we used to train our biomedical scientists, which was a day release course, and you had 4 days in work, and you did your degree or your qualification and your exams and your state reg exam. That's all encompassed in that apprenticeship now. So and it's organised, and there's more involvement from the university. but it's not something you see within the NHS advertised at all. I think the organisational development training people know about it, and they're in their little office somewhere else. And then you've got training leads in each department or training managers in each department, and it's kind of never the twain. Perhaps it's just too big. Perhaps the NHS Borg is just too big to manage this. But I think you really need to get in there and start waving the flag.
I was going to say, I think it is getting better, and I must admit, in fairness to the NHS, we have a lot of people that we put through apprenticeships at the university, and every year on year, they're improving. I know we've got somebody here from Cumbria, Northumberland and Tyne and Wear, and I think we might have somebody from County Durham and Darlington. We've also do a lot with South Tyneside and Sunderland. So I think they are doing a lot. It's just the size and capacity and amidst all what's been happening with pandemic and everything. Yeah. But the good thing is we're on the path where it's going to get and improve. Yeah.
I think the nursing apprenticeship's definitely got a lot of mileage in it.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's really going to be a big one, I think.
Absolutely. Camille, I'm going to just finish off on this with you, if that's all right. Just and then we'll need to wrap up this session. But over to you.
Thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to circle right back to Alex's initial point, because I've got a slightly sort of challenger argument to around the sort of misuse of higher level apprenticeships. Being one of those people in a senior leadership position already doing one of those apprenticeships right now, I actually think that they've been massively helpful in terms of improving the overall perception of apprenticeships across our entire network. I think previously people within, I work for a company that employs thousands of people across the UK, and our knowledge and our background and our understanding of apprenticeships has always been very limited, and we always did have that sort of perception that it was an entry-level scheme for new recruits. Being put through the programme myself, not only has it made me a better manager of apprentices within our network, and an advocate and speaker and encourager of apprentices to join our organisation at every single level, it's also meant that I am able to talk more articulately about the opportunities and benefits that apprenticeships can bring. So actually, whilst there may be businesses out there, I don't have the background knowledge who are misusing that, we are operating with that model. We're using the levy that we weren't able to sort of get away during the pandemic for various reasons and various challenges in terms of bringing people onto programmes, to upskill and to improve our higher levels and our senior managers and our leaders within our network. And actually that's been of a massive benefit, not just for us as in terms of our learning and in terms of how we are developing, but also in terms of our perception overall and our overall view of apprentices and the ability to bring them on board into our company. So slightly counter argument to Alex's point there, but in terms of everything else, I do think that perception is improving. I was never offered an opportunity to go down the apprenticeship route back in when I was at school age. I followed the conventional, as Jordan mentioned, into university, went into work, have been a leader of my sort of my industry for quite some time. But even now, going back into education, I'm learning so much more, and I'm a much better manager and leader because of it. And I put that entirely down to the apprenticeship that I'm doing.
Excellent, Camille. A really nice bit to end on there as well. So I'm really sorry, there's me ambitious thinking we might get 4 questions. We've got 2 questions, but that's because we've had such a fantastic panel of people here with some really great thoughts and comments and discussion. So thank you so much. I would love to continue it. And if anybody who is willing and would like another event like this, we could make it a little bit longer, and would love to hear your thoughts and continue such discussions. If anybody has any specific questions in our audience today, if you can pop them in the chat if I haven't covered them already, we'd love to hear about them. But I'd like to say that was a really great session. A massive thank you to all our panel members and for spending the time and answering those questions. And then we've got some great some great thoughts there. And one thing that I am taking away is, it really, everybody does believe it it can be the future and will be the future if managed and driven in the way that we all perceive it to be. I'm just going to quickly ask that we bring a poll up just to have everybody's viewpoints about your top benefit in relation to apprenticeships. If I can ask that you just select one, and then in a couple of minutes, well, a minute, we'll just bring up the actual summary of what that is. Okay, if we can pop the results up, that would be fantastic. Excellent. So what was our top one? Our top one was ability to earn while you learn. And I agree that is a really great opportunity because it widens participation. It can bring in so many other different talent, people who wouldn't perhaps be able to afford to go to university for whatever reason. And also, you know, just a great incentive for on a number of levels for individuals to pursue, and it's great to have the levy pot there for those people who are levy payers. If anybody is here today and working for a smaller organisation, there's at least 95% funding that's available for your apprenticeships, and there's opportunities to sort of often have it donated from organisations as well. So do get in touch if you want to hear more about that, or join one of our breakout rooms in a moment. So thank you for that. Just close the polls, that's great. So just before we move on to the final part, if you are able to find in your reactions, I'd just like to put a little clap to our panel members and thank you to everybody for the contribution, and also to Helen Tong for her fantastic presentation that she gave as well earlier today. We're going to go into our breakout rooms in just a moment. We have a few options for you, and they include David, who was one of our panelists. He is in one of the breakout rooms if you want to hear more about our MBA Senior Leader Apprenticeship. We've got Gavin McClary joining us today. He's going to be he's our program leader for our digital and technology apprenticeships. He should be available and able to take any questions in one of the breakout rooms. We've got Michael Douglas, who joined our panel today for engineering, who is going to be in one of the breakout rooms and able to answer any questions in relation to our engineering apprenticeships. We've got Rachel Dyson, and also joined by Charlotte Ewing, who are able to talk about any healthcare science apprenticeships and in relation to those ones. We've also got Sarah Jolly and Philip Jack, who have got a breakout room. If you're interested in finding out about some fully funded ESF short courses that are available, they will be available to answer any questions and tell you more about that. I will be in one of the breakout rooms to answer any general questions and just have a chat to you about higher degree apprenticeships in general, and any questions. And we've also got a masterclass, a leadership masterclass, which will give you either a taster of our MBA Senior Leader, or of some of the short courses, ESF courses, which Ian Carr is going to lead on. Before I do the thanks, I'd just like to bring Ian on to invite Ian just to come up, just to give a very brief overview about what the masterclass is when you're making your decisions which one to go on to. Ian, over to you.
That's great. Thanks, Jo. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, and the video's on there as well. Yeah, it's just it's going to be sort of 55 minutes to an hour, just to position some of the leadership, some of the courses that we run and the various ways in which they're funded in terms of apprenticeships and ESF, and some of the other corporate work-based learning we do with a theme of leadership, but very much exploring what leadership is, how it's practiced, our underpinning philosophy that is embedded in all of our courses, and it provides an underpinning philosophy for the degree apprenticeships as well. It provides a philosophy for the ESF funded courses and the other work-based learning courses. So yeah, so hopefully have a bit of fun. I want to get a bit of interaction, a bit of engagement. I want people's views on leadership, how they practice leadership, what they believe their skills and their strengths are going to be. That might put a few people off, but it's not just going to be me sitting here spouting forth about what leadership is. I want to get some kind of interaction, some discussion going, but with a very kind of clear message, an idea of letting you know what our philosophy is that underpins our leadership courses in a work-based context. Is that okay, Jo?
Perfect, thank you, Ian. And you can have a certificate of attendance as well if you join that to go for your CPD. So great. So just to let you know, in a moment we will have our break room options that will come through. You'll be able to just click on the ones that you wish to attend. You can jump between one and the other, it's your choice. But just before they come up, I would just like to take this opportunity to thank everybody today for your time to join us, and really appreciate you joining our event. I hope you found it really great, and I hope you're going to enjoy the breakout rooms as well. I'd like to say a thank you to Dynamo for co-hosting the event, and a special thanks to Helen Tong for giving us a great overview of the project, and also to our wonderful panel members who've been fantastic with their contributions, and appreciate your time. And also to Claire, who's been in the background as well, and managing the actual technical things. So thank you, everybody. Enjoy our breakout rooms, and please get in touch. It's apprenticeships at sunderland.ac.uk, and follow us on any of our social media platforms as well. We'd love to hear more from you. So I'm going to go into one of the breakout rooms now. So if you'd like to come and chat to myself, I'd love to see you. And if not, please sign up and go into our leadership masterclass. It would be great to have you join that.